hear you, man. What's the answer?
Because people hated Donald Trump because of the media whipped up fervor. What you're assuming
okay, so the media, it's the media's fault.
I can't get a word in.
No, I'm just clarifying, brother. What you getting upset for? I'm clarifying. You're saying the media.
But here's the thing, is the reason that you're asking the question is because you're trying to say that people wanted Kamala Harris, which by default.
Why do you keep assuming what's in my mind, dear brother? I'm right here in front of you.
Because you're saying it out loud. Do you hear yourself?
This is my assumption. I think you're unprepared, dear brother. And I'm gonna let you go. I think I'm prepared for this debate. So we'll bring you back, read a few books, look at some commentary, come back, okay? Answer the questions, all right? And read some damn research polls.
For more than 35 seconds next time.
Well, if you got something other than BS to say, I will. I appreciate you being on the show.
I can't talk. You keep talking over me. I don't know if this is how you do it.
I had to ask you a question 7 times.
But I haven't been able to answer any of your questions. Because the second I start talking, you start talking over me. I don't know if this is how you generally run things. I thought this was going to be a substantive conversation. I
thought it was too. I'm really surprised.
I like the fact that Young Turks has this sort of thing going. But if you can't have a conversation because you just go off in a million different directions, what's the point in having the conversation?
I apologize if my directions are a little bit too advanced for you and quick pivoted, but this is how I run my program.
Dude, I will pray for you. Good luck, man.
You believe in white Jesus or black Jesus?
Oh boy.
Which one? White Jesus or black Jesus, brother?
I'm not even gonna dignify that question.
All right, I understand. I see where you at. I appreciate you, Jobob. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
All right.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about this very, very, very heated debate that happened between Rashad Richey and Turning Point comedian Jobob. Now, I don't know much about Jobob, okay, and what he does for Turning Point, but what I do know is that Jobob is going to learn the hard way why these types of conversations are a waste of time. I honestly don't know why any conservative goes on these shows that have extremely rigged platforms, like, for example, Roland Martin's show or Rashad Richey's show. I really don't understand why people sign up for this, because these people are not really trying to have genuine conversations. They're trying to get gotcha moments, okay? And they're trying to humiliate conservatives who go on the show naively believing that these people are going to have a genuine conversation. Like, they're actually really trying to have a real substantive conversation about issues, but that's just simply not the case. What they're trying to do is that they're trying to get gotcha moments, which is what Rashad Richey is going to try to do here with Jobob. And Rashad Richey is actually going to end up humiliating himself when it comes to a subject that, as a progressive, he should be very well educated on, but clearly he's not. So he's going to get a very basic fact wrong while going off on this guy for getting his facts wrong, when Rashad Richey got the fact wrong in the process of trying to humiliate the other dude. He just humiliates himself. And it's very clear to anybody that is watching, that's actually paying attention and understands the facts. But again, that's not who Rashad Richey's show is trying to appeal to. He's trying to appeal to emotions and trying to get gotchas. So again, if you actually listen to the conversation here, you can tell that Rashad Richey knew that he just embarrassed himself in a big way. And this is why he's basically going to rage quit this debate. So I want to react to it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Catalyst.
When Kamala Harris ran for president in 2020, she, I think, saw what was going on Twitter at the time, Twitter, which was, I believe, a lefty-run organization, and saw these big, huge issues that were bubbling up and decided to go with healthcare for all and everyone deserves equity, which is policies that people don't actually like, including the Democratic Party, which is why she had to get out of the race before Iowa.
Jobob,
so to say that this is like this big, huge thing that everyone's paying attention to is just factually inaccurate, but you're welcome to do that if you'd like.
We do something on this program, and it's called Tell the Truth. And so when you say something like that, I encourage you, I challenge you, when you say that the vast majority of Americans disagree, and you quote, say a policy, can you source that for me?
Yeah, she got out before the Iowa caucus. I'm not talking about Republicans, Democrats. I'm talking about literally Democrats.
Let's back up for a moment. Let's back up for a moment.
She was doing so bad in the polls.
What are the policies?
Because of her policies that Democrats didn't want her.
What are the policies, brother? Which policies did they reject that she believed in?
The healthcare for all. She was really, really big on.
Okay, so you're saying, so let's go back to your statement, because we're adults. Hold on, Jobob. Let's do one at a time, brother, okay? So
I know, but you take it all the time.
Well, brother, it is my show, and I'm trying to get to a point, and you're filibustering it. So
I'm trying to answer the question. I get
let's just do one at a time, brother. I'm telling you, it's going to be easier that way. All right, and it'll be less harmful to you. So the healthcare for all dynamic, which Kamala Harris subscribed to, you're saying the Democratic Party rejected. However, they then proceeded to elect the man who basically co-authored the healthcare for all legislation, being the vice president of Barack Obama. So the policies between Biden and Harris are the same as it relates to healthcare for all. Biden is the vice president who brought you healthcare for all through the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obamacare. And you're saying to me that Kamala Harris was rejected because the vast majority of Democrats did not want healthcare for all. You sound dumb as hell, Jobob.
Hold on. Do you not know the difference between the Affordable Care Act, which is a farce of a name, by the way, and Medicare for all? Because those are two very different things. And if you don't understand the two differences between those two things, I said Medicare for all. Kamala Harris said
all right,
Medicare
so let's go to Medicare for all.
What's the percentage? About equity. She's talking about all of these.
Wait a minute, brother. What's the percentage of Americans that agree with Medicare for all? What's the percentage?
I don't know. I'm telling you,
you just said they rejected it.
Party during her election campaign for president of the United States, she was polling so bad that she had to get out.
Just so you know, it's 78%. 78% of Americans agree with Medicare for all.
Okay, so again, to people who actually paid attention and again, kind of understand what's going on here, Rashad Richey is just very, very, very wrong. He just kind of humiliated himself because basically what he tried to say is that this dude's a dummy because he says that Kamala Harris was rejected from the Democrat primary because of her extreme policy positions, like, for example, healthcare. Now, notice how Rashad Richey doesn't allow this guy to go into actual detail. He just cuts the guy off and then tries to get a gotcha on the guy. But in the process of getting a gotcha, Rashad Richey makes a huge mistake because what he doesn't realize is that Kamala Harris and the policy that she supports, which is Medicare for all, she wants to wipe away all private health insurance, right? This is what she wants to do. That is actually very different than what Joe Biden supports, which is Obamacare, which is something that Rashad Richey should know, especially as a progressive. Obamacare is not Medicare for all, which is the extreme single-payer healthcare system that Kamala Harris supports, right? They support two different policies. Rashad Richey said that they support the same thing. So this guy is a dummy for saying that Democrats rejected Kamala Harris for being too far left when quite literally, if you look at the polling within the Democrat Party at that time, they actually did reject Kamala Harris and a lot of the progressives in the Democrat Party because they did not agree with their healthcare solution. Take a look.
It is inhumane to make people go through a system where they cannot literally receive the benefit of what medical science can offer. Because some insurance company has decided it doesn't meet their bottom line in terms of their profit motivation. That is inhumane.
Just to follow up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
This is among Democrats, Wolf. I just want to make that clear. Among Democrats, only 30% favor going to a government-run program that would replace private insurance. 49%, the plurality, says no, we should not replace private insurance entirely with a government-run program. So when Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Bill de Blasio, those four raised their hands, and then Kamala Harris said the next day she heard the question wrong, that's the political concern for her. Not even Democrats are supportive of getting rid of private insurance.
Yeah, so Rashad Richey is just wrong, okay? Not only does he not understand the difference between where Kamala's at when it comes to Medicare for all versus Joe Biden's healthcare policy, which again is not Medicare for all, he also essentially cites a poll showing that, well, most people agree with Medicare for all, when that's also not true as well too, because if you actually break it down by what people actually believe in regards to the details of the plan, most people do not agree with replacing private insurance or a national program, right? So when you actually poll people on the details of the policy, not just the overall name, the actual details, most people, even in the Democrat Party, don't agree with what Kamala Harris wants to do. Which again is hilarious because progressives do this bullshit all the time. Where they say, well, everybody agrees with our policies. Okay. And then they'll cite these polls that are very generic, right? Oh, well, do you agree that there should be government funded healthcare? Right? That's what they'll say. Okay. And yes, you may have a vast majority of people that may agree with that, but when you actually get down into the details of the policy, okay, well, do you support single payer where you're banning all private insurance, which again is what Kamala Harris supports, that's what Bernie supports, that's what AOC supports, that's what Elizabeth Warren supports, that's what all the progressives support. Most people do not agree with that, right? But again, this guy Rashad Richey, right, it's so funny because I guarantee you, take the earpiece off. This guy has an earpiece in his ear. People feeding him stats. Take the earpiece off, take him off of his show, and I guarantee you, he folds like a wet noodle. They get on their platform where everything is rigged in their favor, right? They're getting stats and information fed to them in real time, notes written to them in real time, told what to say, told the rebuttals, right? And they want to act like they're so big and bad while getting super basic facts wrong, and at the same time, calling their guests saying that they sound like a dumbass, right? Saying they sound like a dumbass while you're getting the basic facts wrong. You're the person that doesn't even understand that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden do not believe in the same policy for healthcare. Again, that's the hilarious part, because people like me that's actually educated on this stuff, I can pick up that instantly. But people who are not very educated, they'll listen to somebody like Rashad Richey and think, oh, he's winning this debate. When it's like, no, he's actually not winning the debate on the facts. He might be winning the debate on screaming and yelling and talking, right? And not letting his opponent actually speak, but he's not winning the debate on the facts and the substance. This dude just got a major fact wrong, and he know he did, and this is why he's about to rage quit this debate.
So you may not know these numbers, all right? I'm trying to help.
You don't know what the difference between Affordable Health Care Act and Medicare for All is. How?
Like, so of course I know the difference, dear brother. I just assumed and misheard. I thought you said healthcare.
No, you didn't. No, because you should know that there's a difference between Kamala Harris's healthcare plan and Joe Biden's. You should know that, Rashad, especially as a progressive. That's why this is extremely humiliating if you're a progressive, because it's like, no, that's actually like a really big thing. Like, that's a huge thing in progressive circles, is the difference between Medicare for All and the Affordable Care Act. That's huge. So you definitely didn't know, right? He caught you on not knowing. And the hilarious part is that Rashad Richey is going to be like, well, you don't know these numbers. No, you don't know the numbers, Rashad. You don't. I guarantee you. Take the earpiece out, Rashad. Take the earpiece out. This man doesn't know this stuff. He's being fed information, and he just got caught slipping, right? Big time. Look at his face. You know it, right? He knows it. Look at his face. This going in the screenshot.
You said Medicare. That's fine. I just gave you the stat for it. Do you know the stat for any of the things you're talking about? Any one of them?
Okay, so the only stat that I've actually brought up is that 0% of Democrats wanted Kamala Harris to be the president.
Well, that's not true either, because she did get, wait a minute, brother, 0%.
Do you let anybody talk on this show?
Yes, sir. I challenge BS when BS is said.
I've talked for maybe 30 seconds.
No, sir, you've BS'd for the vast majority of the time.
Okay, but then you're transitioning into different topics that don't align.
That's what we do. We transition into, you got to keep up, your brother, when you come on this program.
Everyday skirmishes on Twitter. And you're saying, yes, they do. And my evidence for that is Kamala Harris.
No, I didn't say yes, they do. I said it has an effect, brother.
Okay, so before this video began, so you guys understand exactly what he's saying, Rashad Richey made the argument that the internet is a major driver of how people feel about politics and how people vote, right? This dude's argument was like, no, I think that Kamala Harris took a lot of far left positions because of what she saw online, and that just didn't translate to a victory in the Democrat Party. It didn't translate to popularity, right? Because she was too far left. Now, his evidence to back up that claim is something that we all know, which is that Kamala Harris basically didn't receive any votes in the Democrat primary. Okay, she dropped out before the first primary. So she may have received, like, I don't know, maybe a fraction of a percentage of votes overall, but effectively she dropped out before there was a vote cast, okay, because her poll numbers were just that bad, okay? So Rashad Richey knows this, and this is why he's going to try to deflect with a question that really is not relevant or disproves what this guy is actually arguing, right? And this is where it's going to really go off the rails.
I say it has an effect.
Nobody denies that it has an effect. Everybody's, yeah, of course it has an effect. What I'm saying is the effect is a ripple in the pond, and you're saying it's a tsunami.
Do you think people elected? No, I didn't say that. You're just lying. Did you suggest that Kamala Harris got 0% of the vote? You do realize she ran on a ticket with Biden. And so when people decided to vote for Biden-Harris ticket, Jobob, give me a moment, brother.
No, are you actually, hold on. Do you think that you're saying what you think you're saying? Because I never said on the presidential ticket, when she ran for president in 2020, which she did,
I understand
got out in December, which is before the Iowa caucus. That is what I said. Democrats don't want her.
You don't think Democrats want her? I appreciate
they have proven to say that they don't.
Why is it? Okay, let me just ask you a question, brother. Why is it that Biden-Harris ticket defeated Trump?
I mean, how long do you have? There's a litany.
Go ahead. Since nobody wanted her, brother.
Okay, so you see what Rashad Richey did there? He couldn't dispute the fact about Kamala Harris getting knocked out of the primary, which is pretty damn good evidence, right? Empirical evidence that Democrats don't want Kamala, right? That's pretty damn good evidence. So he can't dispute that. So what he does is that he deflects to say, well, why is it that Biden and Kamala beat Trump if nobody wants Kamala Harris, right? If Democrats don't want Kamala Harris, as if that disproves the whole point that he's making, which is that she wasn't that popular among Democrats. Now, again, it's a difference when you're talking about a general election, because voting for Joe Biden at the top of the ticket is different than voting for Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, which is something that Rashad Richey doesn't really seem to understand, and that votes for Joe Biden does not indicate that people actually like Kamala or that Democrats want Kamala. That's not what it means, right? They can vote for that ticket for various reasons, but what we do know is that when voters had a choice between Kamala as the top of the ticket and everybody else, they did not choose her, which is something that clearly he doesn't want to deal with. And again, he's asking this question as if it actually disproves this guy's previous point, but it doesn't. And he's not going to be able to just let it go because he's trying to get a gotcha instead of having a real substantive conversation.
Why did the Biden-Harris ticket defeat Trump? Go ahead.
Dude, I don't know if you're miscalculating things based.
I'm just asking you a question, man. Do you know how to answer?
What I'm trying to get is what you actually understand, what you actually believe. I can't nail that down.
Do you want to answer the question or not, man?
What I'm saying, first of all, do you agree that Kamala Harris ran for president?
Sir, are you going to answer the damn question, sir, or waste my time?
Do you agree that Kamala Harris ran for president?
You're going to answer the question or waste my time, sir.
Okay, so Kamala Harris, just so you know, Kamala Harris did run for president in 2020. Okay. She got out before the Iowa caucus because
a lot of people did, dear brother. A whole lot of people got out before the Iowa caucus. Sir, why is it if everybody is against Kamala Harris, why did the Biden-Harris ticket defeat your candidate, Trump? Why?
There's
you got an answer?
Of reasons as to why that is. Are you trying to make the case that the only reason Joe Biden won is because Kamala Harris was attached to him?
Sir, I just asked you a question that you are obviously incapable of answering.
No, I'm just getting yelled at for trying to clarify.
No, I'm getting assertive, sir. Can you answer the question or not, man? I need to let you go.
So what your question is assuming is that Kamala Harris is the sole reason that Joe Biden won.
No, it doesn't assume any of that, sir. That's your assumption.
Okay, so what this guy is doing, I know what he's thinking. He's trying to clarify why are you asking this question, because the question is not relevant to the statement that he prefaced the question with, which is that if Kamala Harris is so unpopular, then why did the Biden-Harris ticket beat Trump? Now, again, I understand why he's trying to clarify the purpose of Dr. Richey asking this question, because just from a basic logic perspective, his question doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't have anything to do with Kamala Harris's actual popularity as a presidential candidate, because vice president and president are two different things. So when you're voting for a ticket, again, there's a difference between voting for Biden at the top of the ticket versus voting for Harris at the top of the ticket. The reasons for why Trump lost to Biden really don't have that much to do with Kamala Harris's popularity, or don't really speak to her viability at the top of the ticket. That is what Jobob should have said, right? But again, Rashad Richey should clarify exactly why he's asking the question, which he fails to do, because clearly this guy wants clarification in regards to what point are you actually trying to make. But see, what these guys do, this is another trick they pull. And this is also why I say, like, I don't understand why people do these debates. Like, first and foremost, they're a waste of time. Second of all, again, they're not trying to have a genuine conversation, because he should actually clarify. But he's not trying to clarify because he's not trying to make a real point. The only thing he's trying to do is to ask questions, get a gotcha, and then rebut it with some facts that he's being told in his ear, right? That's what he's trying to do. He's not trying to have a real conversation. And again, that's why I think that these conversations are so pointless. And these types of debates, these videos remind me of just how pointless this stuff is, because this is not an individual that's genuinely interested in getting somebody else's perspective as much as he's interested in trying to humiliate this guy. And in the process of trying to humiliate him, he's really humiliating himself, right? So, yeah.
No, you just said that.
No, you're a damn lie. I asked you a question that you refused to answer. Keep up, Jobob. Please.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and repeat the question?
If no one wanted Kamala Harris, why is it that the Biden-Harris ticket, which is always the ticket of president, vice president, how we vote in the United States of America, which means those votes are collected by way of two individuals. One is your president, the other one is.
Do you understand what your question is assuming?
Hold on, brother. You asked me to explain it to you. I'm trying to do a child style.
No, but do you understand what your question is assuming? What you're saying is
child style, so you can understand, Jobob. So do you understand the question?
Okay, so to answer your question,
you didn't understand the question. Do you understand it now?
Whipped up a fervor to hate Donald Trump. I don't think Kamala Harris really had anything to do with it. You're making the argument.
So you don't think Kamala Harris created any level of excitement inside of it?
That he won. That's a crazy argument.
Well, I'm not making an argument. I'm asking you a question.
You're asking the question framed in the sense of what the argument that you're making.
Jobob, man, listen, just because you talk a lot, it don't make you more right.
I haven't talked this whole time. You keep talking over me and interrupting anytime I try to say anything.
Yeah, it's hilarious that Dr. Richey is telling this guy just because you talk a lot doesn't make you right. But Rashad Richey is the guy throughout the whole interview that didn't let this dude talk. So again, it's just so funny to me, right? Rashad Richey is so triggered right now because this guy is not just letting Rashad Richey get away with his BS in regards to asking a question that's really not relevant to the overall point, okay? So, it's just so funny how you got to notice in these interviews, these guys that are always asking the questions, they never actually really want to make a real argument themselves. I would have been very curious to hear Jobob ask Rashad Richey, well, what evidence, what data do you have to prove that Kamala Harris was actually a positive force for Joe Biden, right? Or that Kamala Harris was a significant reason why Joe Biden won? What evidence do you have for that, right? How many people voted for the Joe Biden ticket solely because of Kamala Harris? You should have asked him to do that. See how fast he can get his researchers to get on it, right? And get the answer to him in his earpiece, okay? I guarantee you he would have had to take a commercial break.
You're literally not even answering the one simple question I posed to you.
I just did several times. I don't know what to tell you.
So what's the answer? Go ahead. I didn't hear you, man. What's the answer?
Because people hated Donald Trump because of the media whipped up fervor. What you're assuming
so the media, it's the media's fault.
I can't get a word in.
No, I'm just clarifying, brother. What you getting upset for? I'm clarifying. You say the media.
But here's the thing, is the reason that you're asking the question is because you're trying to say that people wanted Kamala Harris, which by default
Why do you keep assuming what's in my mind, dear brother? I'm right here in front of you.
Because you're saying it out loud.
Well, yeah, the premise of the question is, if nobody wanted Kamala Harris, then why did Biden-Harris ticket win? So the premise of your question in and of itself challenges the assumption that nobody wanted Kamala Harris, right? I mean, that's essentially what you're saying, because otherwise you would not have prefaced the question with the statement about Kamala Harris's popularity, if that is what the question wasn't about, right? Again, it's just so funny. This guy he's so triggered, bro. He really is, because he's trying to get the gotcha, right? That's what he's trying to do. And this guy is not trying to let Rashad Richey get the gotcha. So Rashad Richey is upset, right? He's mad, okay? Because again, all Rashad Richey has to do is to just tell the truth. Why are you asking this question? Like, what is the point of asking this question about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when that doesn't speak to the popularity of Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, which, again, is the point that you're trying to dispute by asking that question, right? I mean, you're asking that question in response to the statement that nobody wanted Kamala Harris for president. But the question that you're asking has nothing to do with Kamala Harris being president, because president and vice president aren't the same thing. But again, Rashad Richey is trying to get the gotcha. And because he's trying to get the gotcha, he's not actually really trying to interview the guy, right? Rashad Richey doesn't want to answer any questions, right? He doesn't even want to clarify why he's asking a question that really doesn't make sense. Right. And again, he's so frustrated that this guy is not falling for his nonsense, that he's visibly getting angry about it. Right. It's so hilarious.
Do you hear yourself?
This is my assumption. I think you're unprepared, dear brother. And I'm going to let you go. I think I'm prepared for this debate. So we'll bring you back, read a few books, look at some commentary, come back, okay?
Well, no, you're unprepared because you're the guy that didn't even know there was a difference between Kamala Harris's healthcare plan and Joe Biden's healthcare plan. He didn't know, right? So now he's accusing this guy of being unprepared when this dude is the one getting basic facts wrong, right? It's just so funny.
Answer the question, all right? And
I
read
would
some
love
damn
to
research
talk for
polls.
more than 35 seconds next time.
Well, if you got something other than BS to say, I will. I appreciate you being on the show.
I can't talk. You keep talking over me. I don't know if this is how you do it.
I had to ask you a question 7
but
times,
I haven't been able to answer any of your questions because the second I start talking, you start talking over me. I don't know if this is how you generally run things. I thought this was going to be a substantive conversation. I
thought it was too. I'm really surprised.
I like the fact that Young Turks has this sort of thing going. But if you can't have a conversation because you just go off in a million different directions, what's the point in having the conversation?
I apologize if my directions are a little bit too advanced for you and quick pivoted, but this is how I run my program.
Dude, I will pray for you. Good luck, man.
You believe in white Jesus or black Jesus?
Oh boy.
Which one? White Jesus or black Jesus, brother?
I'm not even going to dignify that question.
All right, I understand. I see where you at. I appreciate you, Jobob. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
Yo, this is hilarious. Again, unfortunately for this guy, Jobob, he thought that Rashad Richey was actually trying to have a substantive conversation. They never are. And again, this is why I don't understand why conservatives continue to go on these shows. Why are you going on these shows with no moderator, with these individuals who are getting information fed in their ear, right? And they're not even trying to have a real conversation. They're just trying to humiliate their opponent with gotcha questions, right? And because Rashad Richey couldn't get this guy with the gotcha, right? He got frustrated and rage quit. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Again, this is just, right? It's just so funny to me. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.